Jesus is at a party. And he's at like a 3-day bender party, right? And I don't want to rush past that, because there are those among us who are Christian, who are Christ followers, that suffer from an acute case of Christian seriousness. There are too many of us who find it difficult to translate the promises of God into a good time. So we would do well today to recognize the fact that Jesus' first miracle didn't take place at a deacon's meeting. It didn't take place at a spiritual retreat. It didn't take place at a Bible conference. Jesus' first miracle, first recorded miracle, took place at a party. It took place while people turned up at the party, and he kept the party going by turning the water into wine. So I start off with this exhortation. I know it's kind of an old mantra to say that Christians don't have enough fun, but I want to push some of you, so I'll put it this way. Enjoy yourself. Please enjoy yourself. Too many Christ followers look like they think it's part of the Apostles' Creed or something that we aren't supposed to have a good time. Why do so many Christians seem so uptight? You would think that a group of people who believe that a man could be dead on Friday and could wake up alive on Sunday would be a people who have a lot to celebrate. Enjoy yourself, Christian. Enjoy yourself, please. So we're going to jump into our text. It's John chapter 2, verses 1 through 12. And we're going to extricate a few things out of it. But I'm going to interrupt myself as I read the text, and so please forgive me for that. Just a little bit of interjection, where John chapter 2, verse 1 starts off like this. On the third day, a wedding took place at Cana in Galilee. Jesus' mother was there, and Jesus and his disciples had also been invited to the wedding. So there's a big wedding in Galilee, and Jesus' family and his boys were invited, and it's one of those 3-day, 2-night turn-ups. It's epic, right? I mean, in those days, life was tough, and so some of the few things that they really had to look forward to were weddings and wedding parties and wedding receptions, and they were taking advantage of this one. Then it says, when the wine was gone, Jesus' mother said to him, they have no more wine. So they have gone so hard at the wedding that all the wine is gone. And Jesus' mom, Mary, must have had, some sort of responsibility at this wedding. She must have been the wedding coordinator, the hospitality director. She must have been something like that. She panics and immediately goes to Jesus so that he can pull the rabbit out of the hat, do something miraculous, and make everything okay. Woman, why do you involve me? Jesus replied. So Jesus not sounding real Jesus-y right there, right? And it's not the best response ever, right? And guys, your wife asks you to bring home dinner. You know what? You can just quote John 2:4, right? Why do you involve me? You could tell her you quoting the Bible, right? But he goes on. My hour has not yet come. Jesus said, Mom, I've come to save the world. I haven't come to save this wedding. Goes on. His mother said to the servants, do whatever he tells you to do. So mom is sounding really mom-like right there. It's kind of like, I don't care whether it's your hour or not. Son, I need you to pull off a miracle. So I'm going to let my crew know to do whatever you tell them to do, because I know you're about to make some wine appear for me, right? This party right here, it's going to continue on. We ain't done yet. So make some wine appear up in here. Y'all going to make me act a fool up in here, right? You know the deal. So Mary goes out saying, do whatever my son asks you to do. That's like pretty telling that is actually the last words we hear from Mary in the Bible. Mary appears in the Bible later, but those are her last spoken words. Goes on. Nearby stood 6 stone water jars, the kind used by the Jews for ceremonial washing, each holding from 20 to 30 gallons. So these are the jars that hold dirty water. Verse 7, Jesus said to the servants, fill the jars with water. So they filled them to the brim. Then he told them, now draw some out and take it to the master of the banquet. Master of the banquet is kind of like the MC, kind of like the master of ceremonies, right? Goes on. They did so, and the master of the banquet tasted the water that had been turned into wine. He did not realize where it had come from, though the servants who had drawn the water knew. So the servants already recognized Jesus at that point. They were like, look, Mr. MC, you might think you're the MC, but if Jesus is at a party, he is the master of ceremonies, period, pointblank.com, right? I don't care who you are. When Jesus rolls in, he's the MC. Then he called the bridegroom aside and said, everyone brings out the choice wine first, and then the cheaper wine after the guests have had too much to drink, but you have saved the best till now. And at that point, the MC then inquired of Jesus, do you do graduation parties as well? No, I'm just kidding. Verse 11, what Jesus did here in Cana of Galilee was the first of the signs through which he revealed his glory, and his disciples believed in him. After this, he went down to Capernaum with his mother and brothers and his disciples. There they stayed for a few days. So, before we transition into our points, some people argue about what the recording of all of these miraculous signs that Jesus did was for, and what was the purpose of accounting for Jesus performing his miraculous signs. We don't have to argue about that because John gave us the answer at the end of his gospel. In verse 30 and 31 in John 20, John wrote this, Jesus performed many other signs in the presence of his disciples, which are not recorded in this book. But these are written that you may believe that Jesus is the Messiah, the Son of God, and that by believing you may have life in his name. John says, we're telling you about Jesus' miracles so that you will believe, so that you're convinced that Jesus was who he said he was. Case closed. So we still need to pull out a few things out of this text now. We're going to talk about what the miracles of Christ show us about Christ. There's three things that really are illuminated. And number one, if you're keeping score, is this: Christ is present. Christ is always present in your life. I don't care if you think he's millions of miles away. Christ is always right there with you. John 2, 1 through 5 said, on the third day, a wedding took place in Cana in Galilee. Jesus' mother was there, and Jesus and his disciples had also been invited to the wedding. Verse 3, when the wine was gone, Jesus' mother said to him, they have no more wine. And then he goes on from there. So for Jesus' first miraculous move, Mom says, we ran out of wine at the wedding. Son, make some more wine. And Jesus, after a brief moment of pushback, starts to go ahead and prepare to perform the miracle. If I could just interrupt myself for a second, just as an aside, the other night at chapel, I'm leading chapel for the Kings, and we were going through this passage, and I mentioned that this was Jesus' first miracle, and immediately Buddy Hield jumped up and cut me off, and he said, wait a minute, Bob, slow down. Did you say that this was Jesus' first miracle? And I said, yes. And Buddy says, so you're saying that you know that Jesus never performed a miracle when he was younger in life? And I said, actually, no, Buddy, I don't know that. I don't have the videotape of his life. So let me adjust my statement slightly and say that this is Jesus' first public miracle. And Buddy said, respect. So I just want you to know that if you're a Kings fan, your shooting guard, Buddy Hield, is moonlighting as a theologian in residence for the Kings, and he is on top of his game. Okay, I just want you to know that. But this miracle was in a regular, everyday kind of moment, right? It was at a wedding, and the wine ran out. We ran out of guacamole at the Super Bowl party. We ran out of gift favors at the year-end staff gathering. Right? Don't get me wrong. It's a stressful situation, and somebody's going to end up looking bad because of it. But in my mind, this isn't miracle material. And this is definitely not first public miracle worthy. In my mind, this is not how you enter into the miracle business. We're short on wine. Come on. Thunderbird, $3.45 a bottle at Bevmo. Problem solved, right? But don't miss this. Even with an everyday type of problem, Mary invites Jesus into her problem solving. She doesn't make a difficult situation worse with a bad decision, a quick snap bad decision. She invites her son in immediately. As soon as she knows, she goes to Jesus. So Mary's like, look, Jesus, I knew you had something special going on since birth. I knew that. When I had you, angels showed up. And I don't think, you might not remember, but I remember that I got pregnant even though I was a virgin with you, right? That didn't slip my mind. Don't think I forgot about that. So I know you got some bullets in that chamber of yours that you haven't fired yet. And I've waited 30 years and haven't really asked you for a thing. So snap your fingers and get us some more wine so that our guests can keep turning up. And for some reason, Jesus feels like this is the moment to pull the trigger on his supernatural ministry, at least publicly. And he hasn't stopped performing miracles like this in everyday scenarios for all of us ever since. He hasn't stopped doing it. And this is an exhortation to all of us, quite frankly, to finally start to invite Jesus into some of the mundane areas of our lives. It's a provocation. It's a pushing. It's a nudging to finally start to let him into our decision making in every single arena of our life. Inviting him into our decisions at work, inviting him into our decisions about relationships we're in, how we live out our lives financially, how we parent our children, how we decide the causes we get behind, where we decide to live full time. Letting Jesus saturate all of these areas so that he can work and work supernaturally in them from time to time. Because I'm certain, let me tell you, I'm certain that God wants to influence our decisions in every arena of life. I'm just not so certain that we want him to. He needs to be invited in by us into all of them. In other words, in this particular instance in the story, Jesus had the opportunity to turn the water into wine in the first place simply because he was invited to the wedding. Like Jesus didn't crash the wedding, right? Like Owen Wilson and Vince Vaughn. Jesus didn't sneak through security and make his way into the bar. Jesus got an official invitation in. And on top of that, his mom made a specific direct request to him when the need arose. The same is true for us. Jesus won't force his way into our decision-making process. We have to invite him into that. And we should invite him in early on in the decision-making process, right? See, what we do too often is we go, yep, I'm going to go here, and yep, I'm going to do that over there, and yep, I'm going to be with her, and I'm going to go with them, and we make decisions, and we make them Han Solo. We make them completely on our own, and things go sour. And when things go sour, and our circumstances, and our relationships, and our finances go sour with them. And then we go, oh, snap. And we go, God, like, can I talk to you real quick, just for a minute? And we bring in God at that point and ask him to clean up a mess that we created on our own. And we tell God about the mess that we just made by our solo decision-making process. And God listens to all that, certainly. But God goes, man, Bob, I'm sorry about this mess you're in right now. And I love, I would have loved and would have liked and to help you avoid this mess and circumnavigate you through that mess. But you should have talked to me a long time ago. The mess has already been created now. But when we are communicating with God about everything, it's different because he has the opportunity to circumnavigate us. He has the opportunity to show up in the mess or before the mess. He has an opportunity to show out even. When we have been praying about something and we think it's a part of God's will and we think he's going to carry it out, the question we need to ask isn't, when are you going to do this for me, Lord? The question we should be asking is, Lord, what should I be doing while I'm waiting on you?